Welcome to St. John's 2-year Bible reading program. Father Dominic invites you to explore the entire Bible through daily readings from both the Old and New Testaments. Each session concludes with a reflective question and with a reflective reply provided at the beginning of the next day's reading. Enjoy the journey, and may God bless you.
In Psalm 62, what is the significance for us that God is our rock and salvation? Psalm 62 describes God as our rock and salvation, which helps us feel more connected and reassured. It shows how dependable and steadfast God is, especially when life feels uncertain and chaotic. When we picture Him as our rock, it reminds us that He provides a solid foundation, offering safety through life's challenges. This knowledge encourages us to trust Him completely, knowing He is our refuge and source of strength. Seeing God as our salvation also emphasizes His incredible role as our deliverer from sin, reminding us of His grace and mercy. These comforting promises of security fill us with peace and give us courage to face difficulties with confidence, all rooted in His everlasting love and protection. Acts chapter 13, 44 through 52. What do Paul and Barnabas' act of shaking the dust off their feet symbolize, and how can this action speak to us when we face rejection? In Acts of the Apostles chapter 13, verses 44 through 52, Paul and Barnabas' act of shaking the dust off their feet is a gesture that demonstrates a clear separation from rejection and highlights that they have completed their mission. It reminds us that they have done their part to share the gospel, and now they entrust the outcomes to God. This act teaches us that when we face rejection, we shouldn't get discouraged or become overly attached to negative reactions. Instead, we can trust that our duty is to share sincerely, leaving the outcomes in God's hand. It encourages us to stay committed, resilient, and focused on our calling, even when others oppose us. Day 353, a reading from the book of Psalms, chapters 63 and 64. A psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah. O God, you are my God. It is you I seek. For you my body yearns, for you my soul thirsts, in a land parched, lifeless, and without water. I look to you in the sanctuary to see your power and glory. For your love is better than life. My lips shall ever praise you. I will bless you as long as I live. I will lift up my hands, calling on your name. My soul shall be sated as with choice food. With joyous lips my mouth shall praise you. I think of you upon my bed. I remember you through the watches of the night. You indeed are my Savior, and in the shadow of your wings I shout for joy. My soul clings fast to you. Your right hand upholds me. But those who seek my life will come to ruin. They shall go down to the depths of the netherworld. Those who would hand over my life to the sword shall become the prey of jackals. But the king shall rejoice in God. All who swear by the Lord shall exult, but the mouths of the liars will be shut. For the leader, a psalm of David. O God, hear my anguished voice. From a dreadful foe protect my life. Hide me from a malicious crowd, the mob of evildoers. They sharpen their tongues like swords, bend their bows of poison words. They shoot at the innocent from ambush. They shoot him in a moment and do not fear. They resolve on their wicked plan. They conspire to set snares. They say, who will see us? They devise wicked schemes, conceal the schemes they devise. The designs of their hearts are hidden. God shoots an arrow at them. In a moment they are struck down. They are brought down by their own tongues. All who see them flee. Every person fears and proclaims God's actions. They ponder his deeds. The righteous rejoice and take refuge in the Lord. All the upright give praise. How can we adopt the same sense of spiritual fulfillment that David describes in this psalm? Day 353, a reading from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 14, verses 1 through 20. In Iconium, they entered the Jewish synagogue together and spoke in such a way that a great number of both Jews and Greeks came to believe, although the disbelieving Jews stirred up and poisoned the minds of the Gentiles against the brothers. So they stayed for a considerable period, speaking out boldly for the Lord, who confirmed the word about his grace by granting signs and wonders to occur through their hands. The people of the city were divided. Some were with the Jews, others with the apostles. When there was an attempt by both the Gentiles and the Jews, together with their leaders, to attack and stone them, they realized it and fled to the Lycaonian cities of Lystra and Derbe and to the surrounding countryside, where they continued to proclaim the good news. At Lystra there was a crippled man, lame from birth, who had never walked. He listened to Paul speaking, who looked intently at him, saw that he had the faith to be healed, and called out in a loud voice, "Stand up straight on your feet." He jumped up and began to walk about. When the crowd saw that Paul had done, they cried out in Lycaonium, "The gods have come down to us in human form." They called Barnabas Zeus and Paul Hermes, because he was the chief speaker. And the priest of Zeus, whose temple was at the entrance to the city, brought oxen and garlands to the gates, for he together with the people intended to offer sacrifice. The apostles Barnabas and Paul tore their garments when they heard this and rushed out into the crowd, shouting, "Men, why are you doing this? We are of the same nature as you, human beings. We proclaim to you good news that you should turn from these idols to the living God, who made heaven and earth and sea and all that is in them. In past generations he allowed all Gentiles to go their own ways, yet in bestowing his goodness he did not leave himself without witness, for he gave you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons, and filled you with nourishment and gladness for your hearts." Even with these words, they scarcely restrained the crowds from offering sacrifice to them. However, some Jews from Antioch and Iconium arrived and won over the crowds. They stoned Paul and dragged him out of the city, supposing that he was dead. But when the disciples gathered around him, he got up and entered the city. On the following day, he left with Barnabas for Derbe. What lessons can we learn from Paul and Barnabas' response to being mistaken for gods in undeserved praise or worship?